Week 5. If you're still with us, you've made it this far. This is the culmination of a lot of things that we've worked to get to this particular point so that we have this perspective. Week 5 is a kind of a high point or a climax. It's a vantage point from which we can look out and see what we've achieved so far. Let's just quickly recap and put this particular position in context. We start off, of course, by considering solar energy, the key input for the Earth. And one of the things that's so obvious about the Earth is because of its shape and because of its tilt, because of its rotation, solar energy isn't received by the Earth uniformly. We have differential effects, and those differential effects cause differential heating. And so we provided in weeks 3 and 4 a background to understand this set of connections that moves from differential temperature to differences in density. Differences in density act through gravitational effects to produce differences in pressure. Pressure differences cause motion and change. And so we end up with these giant convective cells. We made a distinction between stability and instability. We had the idea that a surface that's heated from below produces a stable lower part and an unstable upper part. By contrast, the surface that's cooled produces an unstable lower part and a stable upper part. And so we have this big distinction that the oceans tend to be very stable in the tropics because they're heated from above. The Arctic area tends to be unstable below the surface or in the ocean area because it's cooled from above. And we produce that contrast, a stable atmosphere in general in the Arctic and an unstable atmosphere in the tropics. A stable ocean in the tropics and an unstable ocean in the polar regions. So this starts to produce these overall effects. But there's another wrinkle that we have to understand. And it's a very important one that starts to happen at the global scale. When we get to larger scale motions, the shape of the Earth and the rotation of the Earth brings significance not just to this solar energy component, but they change the nature of the motion. One of the experiments I'd like you to try just sitting at your desk is to take a piece of paper, and in this piece of paper you could quickly take a pen, and what you could do is close your eyes and you can draw a line towards you. But as you're drawing the line, what you want to do is rotate that page, either clockwise or counterclockwise. Still draw the pen directly towards you, and look at the shape that you get. And you'll find, naturally, that you'll get a curved line, no longer a straight line. The curved line will indicate that the combination of the straight motion of the pen with the underlying motion of the pad of paper produces a curved surface. This is something that happens on the overall global scale, and it's an effect that we call the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect causes a deflection of winds and of currents that takes place in both the northern and the southern hemisphere. These reorganize the overall circulation patterns of the Earth and produce secondary effects. And so for the first time, we're able to begin to understand how this creates a new convective cell, one that stretches across the whole Pacific and produces a warm area and a relatively cool area. This produces an overall circulation. It's called the Walker cell, and produces this cycle of events associated with El Nino and Southern Oscillation, often called the ENSO effects. And these are part of that global scale activity that wouldn't happen on just the local scale effect. One of the other shifts that's going to take place in week 5 is we're going to push you to read a little bit more. And we do that quite intentionally. One, because we have access to fantastic material that one of our publishers has permitted us to distribute to you. But secondly, because it's such a human skill. The human skill to be able to read material and digest that and understand that. The 6 weeks of this course can't possibly even thoroughly introduce all the myriad of fascinating phenomena that are part of this planet's surface. But when you can read, you can engage this on your own, and you can continue the learning process. In a sense, humans are probably unique on this planet because we use intelligence as a strategy for survival. Our intelligence allows us to understand the effects of our actions, to understand the consequences of what we do. And intelligence, very much like pressure is an accumulative process. We talked about pressure as being the accumulation of weight density over a depth, the accumulation of weight. When we read, when we digest things, when we share them with others, there's an accumulation process that takes place that allows knowledge to be cumulative in the same sense. And our understanding can stretch out not only to the planet, not only to our actions, but to other human beings that can be inspired and can be connected. So when you're reading this material this week, we encourage you to be inspired as well and to make those connections with what others have begun to understand. So welcome to week 5.